Today I'm going to show you some guidelines for making a great logo. It's important to create a logo with originality. Avoid using clip art or a logo template. It's probably not licensed for being a logo. A company wants to have that original edge. Nobody wants to look like the competitor. So you want to think about who you're representing, what kind of company are you representing, and what would appeal to the audience of your company, the target audience. I'm going to go ahead and get started in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm going to go New Document. And before I start making this logo, you want to be aware that you're going to want to think about the proportions. So you want to stay within what's called the golden mean. And that means almost the aspect ratio of a standard business card, which is 3.5 by 2 inches. So you don't want something too long or too wide. So I'm going to show you how to make a logo with the shape tools and the pathfinder panel, which is a great stenciling tool or trimming and cropping tool. It has those tools on the panel. Right now I just brought out all of my shapes by clicking on the tear off button. And I can select any one of these shapes. So remember, if I select the rectangle, I don't want to make it too long and narrow. Or I just click delete. Hit the delete key. I don't want to make things too wide. I want to stay within the business card aspect ratio. I'm actually going to choose the star tool. And I'm going to, instead of dragging out the star, which I set to have a bunch of points already, I'm going to click on it and then click once on my artboard, and then I'm going to give it, say, 15 points. So I've got a star. Now I want to give it some color, so I have to choose my fill down here. I can double click it and select a color, the color picker. I'm going to click on the stroke and get rid of the stroke by clicking none. And now I'm going to drag out an ellipse. I'm going to do that by holding down shift so I can actually make a perfect circle. And I'll give this a different color. Use my hue slider here on the side and choose a yellow color. Adjust the value here with the circle. Okay. I'm going to right click this and send this to the back. And now I'm selecting my star. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than the circle. I can align them perfectly by dragging a marquee around the two and clicking align, but I have to check that I have my options, my options here set to align to selection, and then I can line these up horizontally and vertically so it's perfectly centered. They're centered on each other to selection. Now that they're both selected and they're aligned, I'm going to hold down my option key and option click this exclude button on the pathfinder panel. So I'm going to option click, and now I've created a cutout where there was an overlap between the star and the circle. Now since I option clicked, I can switch to my direct selection tool, the white arrow, and select either the star or the circle by itself and play with it and offset it and see what other kinds of shapes I can get out of this. So maybe it would look nice a little off center. And then I'm going to drag out another circle. So I'm going to shift drag and give this another color. Right. And send this to the back. Right click and arrange, send to back. And then I can adjust this, scale it down, holding down shift to maintain the proportions. And at this point on this circle here, circle star thing here, if I'm happy with the positioning of the circle and the star, if I click expand, it will solidify it as a single shape rather than two separate shapes on top, grouped together into a compound shape. So I'm going to click this, and now it's expanded as one object. That just simplifies it to make it easier to work with. Okay, so now I might want to change the shape a little bit. A circle is a nice shape for a logo, but I think I'm going to use the trim feature in Pathfinder and use a rectangle to trim this down. So I want to find the center of my circle. Right around there. And I'm going to drag select over everything. And if I click on trim now, then where the rectangle was placed, it should work to trim off the bottom half. So I'm creating a half circle logo shape. So now if I switch to my direct selection tool, deselect by clicking outside and then click this rectangle, if I press delete now, the bottom part disappears. So now I might put another rectangle down here where I could put the name of my company, and I could call this Sun Graphics. Several other companies have already taken this name, but this is just a tutorial. This is just practice. This is not a real company. This is not a real logo yet. And you can select parts of this logo and put some effects on it, like inner glow. Go up to effect, stylize, inner glow, preview it, make some adjustments to the opacity level, the blur amount, make it pop. And I can select this area up here. Holding down shift, I can select these two little sections here and also apply an inner glow effect, stylize, inner glow, preview it. I could select these areas here and change the color now that I have a glow to make the glow stand out more. something like that. Pops, and do the same thing for the backdrop behind Sun Graphics. Give it a glow. Effect, stylize, inner glow. And I want to choose a font, the type tool, or just by selecting the text itself, going up here and choosing the font, or going up to type, looking at font, and choosing a font that fits. That's a bit large. Scale it down. You can do a drop shadow, perhaps. Effect, stylize, and drop shadow. Maybe give it a bluish lavender tint. Lighten it up a bit with the opacity. Change this from my prior setting. So in conclusion, you learned a little bit about the shape tools in Adobe Illustrator, the pathfinder, what you can do with the exclude button in Pathfinder when you option click it, and what you can do with the trim button in Pathfinder, and what you could do with the align panel. A great rule of thumb when you're finished with your logo is you can duplicate it. I'm going to just option drag it out. And then if you scale it down to dime size, if the main details are still visible, then you probably have a pretty strong logo. Alright, thanks for watching.